Welcome, everybody. My name is Leslie Krumholtz. I am the co-founder of Hugo Health and Kindred. And I want to welcome everyone here today and thank you all for your support. As you all know, Kindred will be closing sometime in the next month or so, and we'll make sure that we give you plenty of notice before we do that. But reflecting on the past 2 years, it is my sincere hope that we've been a source of help and support for you as all of you have navigated the unique challenges of your COVID journeys. In the early days, we came together and we formed the Kindred Advisory Task Force, a group of extraordinary Kindred members led by Talia Arocious, who was our community manager, and who, despite the storms raging in their own lives, offered their wisdom and experiences to enrich our community. And so I thought for a moment today that we should honor these incredible people. They were selfless in hosting cafes, giving invaluable feedback, and they shared profound experiences. They've been the pillars of supporting Kindred. And so really from the deepest corners of my heart, I want to thank you. Your generosity and spirit have left an indelible mark on all of us. And for that, we are eternally grateful. This community has been a support for many. For me personally, I have gotten so much, I have to say, joy out of this experience. Hearing from all of you and knowing and hoping at least that we have made an impact in your lives has been most important. So we've invited the Yale Listen team here for our final cafe, because today is really an opportunity to look forward, really not backward. This meeting isn't an end, but it's really a new beginning. And I encourage those of you who haven't yet joined the Listen study to consider it as your next step. They have a lot of exciting information to share with you today, and I see it fitting to end our journey on Kindred with ending with their making this the final cafe. So now I'm going to hand it over the floor to Akiko and Harlan, the PIs from the Listen study, and the rest of the Listen team. Thank you once again to each and every one of you for being the heart and soul of Kindred. Your light and love have made all the difference. And I'm going to pass this on to Harlan and Akiko.
Thank you, Leslie, for everything that you contributed and for everyone who has been part of this extraordinary community from the very beginning. And yeah, it's been quite a journey and amazing to get to this point. I think we wanted to start with a celebration of Kindred and all the people who are part of this. This is a Kindred meeting. It's not a Listen meeting, but the Listen study was able to partner with the Kindred community and to provide an opportunity for people to join the research we were conducting. And I've seen also to let people know about other research studies as they were going on. What we hope to do today is to just introduce some members of the Listen team for a chance for them just to say hello and for you to see them, and to also talk a little bit about what we're thinking about. We'll present a little bit of science and also talk about what we're thinking about for the future. But I personally just wanted to express my appreciation, admiration, and respect for people who came together to help each other and did so in a way that was selfless, even as they were facing their own challenges. And it was and continues to be inspiring, remarkable, amazing. And even as Kindred now sunsets, there's a great hope that what was done here has enduring value to people who participated. And we are going to try to pick up some of that charge in the context of a research study, but also one that, again, continues to do our best to partner with people in the community to also share information, both that we're learning, but also that we hear about. And even as Listen goes forward, as we hear about other studies, to let people know about those studies. So not to say you should never be anyone's community. You are your own community, and the community strength comes from the members who are part of it. No one owns you or the community. The community should be an organic group of people coming together to try to learn together and make progress together. And we hope in the course of research to be part of participating in generating knowledge that will help you and others down the pipe. So with that, let me just hand it over to Akiko, and then we'll let others on the team say hello too.
Thank you, Harlan. I want to second Harlan in thanking Leslie. I mean, she's been really an amazing and selfless leader herself, leading this Kindred effort, and I'm really grateful. The entire community thanks you. And of course, the leaders that came through, to really lead this effort in Kindred, without whom none of this would have happened. So super grateful to everyone. And also, as Harlan says, this is not the end of the study, but we are transitioning to a different form where we will keep, trying to understand this long COVID disease and post-vaccine syndrome better. So this is a kind of a new beginning, and we're very excited to be here with you and to share some of the findings from the studies that we've already done, and to share some of our plans going forward.
This is, always about you, the people who are facing the challenges and the people that we're working to partner with to move forward. But we do want to take an opportunity to let some other members of the research team to say hello. And one important thing that we've done is many of you have had the opportunity to interact with Heidi and Talia over the course of your work in Kindred. And as we began to realize that Kindred would begin to sunset, and we within the Listen study wanted to take on some of the opportunities to interact with you all and provide some of the support that had been going on the Kindred side. We brought Heidi and Talia over to the Listen team. So and although pretty well known to this community, I don't know, Talia and Heidi, you want to say hello or have any
Sure.
words?
Yep. Yeah. Talia, you want to go
At the
first?
same time? Yeah. Hi, everyone. It's been such an incredible experience and journey so far working with all of you. And I see so many familiar names and it warms my heart. And I'm just so excited to continue working together. Well, we're going to interact with you in similar ways. We're going to host events and stuff and more to come. Been working behind the scenes for a few months to prepare. And you'll certainly be hearing from me. And I'm just excited to be here.
Thanks, Talia. I see a lot of familiar faces as well, or familiar names. I worked with many of you very closely on the PAX-LC project, and worked primarily with connections, but also walked a few people through some really amazing journeys and stories. And I just have to say that I am in awe of all that you are living with and the strength that you show every day. And I am so looking forward to continuing to work with you and meeting new people as well. So if you have any questions about connections or anything like that, I am your person.
That's great. Thank you so much. And maybe we'll just let some of the others also say hi. Bornali, do you want to say hi?
Hi everyone. I see a lot of familiar names here. It has been a pleasure working with all of you. I'm a research associate scientist at Yale and a part of Akiko's team, and it has been a pleasure so far, and I hope to continue working with all of you. Thank you.
And Mitsu?
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to participate in this meeting. Even though this is my first time in the Kindred meeting, I also feel that I know many of you through our work on the Listen study and the PAX-LC study. So I want to thank everyone who has contributed and all those who have contributed to Kindred as well, and Leslie, of course. Yeah, it's a great honor to be here.
And Tiana?
Hi, everyone. I'm Tiana. I'm a Yale medical student working with a team on the research side, a bit focused on like the survey questions and analyzing the data. It's really, really good to be here with all of you.
Thanks, Tiana. And what a privilege for us to be able to bring students in and others, who at this level. Of course, she's worked at a very high level with us, but that's been amazing to be able to do that. We have also Fred and Warner and Andreas Copy, who have been working on the medical record side. I don't know, you guys want to just say hello?
Sure. Hi, my name is Fred Warner. I am a research scientist working at CORE. And I'm very excited and happy to be able to contribute to this very worthy project.
Thanks, Fred. I don't know, Andreas, do you want to say hello?
Sure. Hi, I'm Andreas Kopp. I'm also a research scientist with CORE. Very happy to be here, and I've been really impressed at all the work and contributions people have done in the past. I did most of my work with the PAX trial, and it's just remarkable to see how much people have suffered and how much people are trying to help. So look forward to more work. And typically I'm on the data side in the weeds, so I don't know that I'd be meeting anybody, but at least know that I'm back there. Thanks.
But he and Fred have been working hard to ensure that the kind of connections that we're making with the medical records, there's still a lot of complicated facets of this. And so they've been working hard to ensure that that part of the study works really well. And there are many others that, are not on the call, but just to give you a sense that there is a large team that's trying to work to advance the knowledge in partnership with you to make it so that we can learn together. Let me just talk a little bit about the way the meeting will go. Is we just want to talk a little bit about these mechanics, and then we also have another student, Regina Wu, who's going to be talking about a project that we just did, and I'll just let her introduce herself when she gives her presentation, and then we'll get into a questions and answers, and we'll spend what I think will be a chunk of the time on fielding questions from the group who have joined us today. So Tiana, do you want to just put up the slide and we can just sort of say, so the notion was that really it's not exactly transferring Kindred into Listen, because of course Kindred was its own special entity, and I think the only thing about it was sort of under that Hugo Health was sort of sponsoring it, but it was really its own entity. And the question is sort of like where should it live and what should it be? And for what it was, I think it was quite extraordinary. What we're trying to do is take some aspects of it and to move it into a research study. So the Listen study is a Yale study of long COVID and post-vaccination syndrome, and it's and we were able to do the PAX-LC trial, which was a phase 2 clinical trial of 15 days of Paxlovid in a decentralized fashion, recruiting from Listen and Kindred. But the idea is Listen is sort of the research platform, and as you may all remember, you there was the opportunity to take the questionnaires and the information you did, and if you connected to Hugo, and then grant permission for the Listen study to take advantage of that. Moving into this now, what we're going to do is try to say, well, what can we do to engender the kind of partnership and relationships? From the beginning, we've tried to consider everyone who's been part of the Listen study as our partners and to listen intently to the kind of suggestions and feedback that we've gotten. But now, by sort of starting this next step, we said, well, we can continue to run town halls and we're running them already within Listen, but to sort of strengthen the opportunity for people in the studies to have access to investigators, to be able to ask questions, to have us present back results. One of the key promises of this relationship that we have with people who are in Listen is that we're always going to deliver back to you what we're learning, what the kind of research results that we have. And that may be informal town halls, or it may be that we've just learned something quickly and we'll just quickly convene something, and we'll also ultimately record it and let others see it too. But it's only the people in Listen who'll be able to be there live and interact. And then we've also talked about being able to have some of the cafes that have been such nice features of the Kindred community, that we as a study could sponsor some of these Listen cafes, which could be opportunities to speak with experts in the field. And those experts could be people on our team. They could be people in our midst. They could be people that we're connected to. They give an opportunity for them to make short presentations and to, again, engage in conversation with people who are in the study, who join, who may have questions. And this is a feature that we're trying to promote generally, the idea that, it doesn't have to be this separation. The researchers are way over here and people in a study are over here. We don't use the word subjects anymore. We're talking about partners. People are participating in studies, and there's no reason why there can't be more interaction between people, the people who are administering the study and people who are pursuing the science with you and the people who are participating. If we're really talking about being one team, we should be able to create venues and opportunities for that kind of interaction and discussion. And so we're going to be able to continue that. And then next slide. We're also, as we start new studies, we want to be able to have venues like this. This is a Kindred meeting, but it could very easily be a listen meeting, because it could be like what we're going to be doing in the future. There's so much listen in this meeting that, to announce that what we think, based on feedback that we've gotten and things that we've been thinking about, that there could be a follow-up study here. One of the questions people are asking is, how many people get better from these conditions? And is there anything we can learn from people who do get better? And we've heard anecdotally about people who get better, and interestingly, some people wake up one day and they just feel better. And some people get gradually better. And some people get better for reasons that they can't attribute to anything. And some people get better thinking that they've just tried something and it helped them. And we thought, based on this feedback that we've gotten in the stories that we've heard from the community, from the participants, from others, that we should we have about, over 1,000 people who have filled out baseline surveys. And many of those people have also connected their records. And we thought, if we can get all of those people, including people with long COVID and people who reported their syndrome started soon after the vaccination. So two kinds of sort of, beginnings to the symptomatology that they're experiencing, and then conduct the same set of questions now and see how many people have actually improved on what better. And I see, Trina, you asked this question about what's getting better. I'm talking about everyone. The large majority of people who joined had these syndrome, long COVID or post-vaccination syndrome. And by the way, get better may not be totally better. It may be that I'm, 50% better, but I'm not all the way better. So sort of trying to understand what happens over a period of time. Are there some people who no longer have any of that syndrome, that terribly disabling syndrome that many people are describing, which are manifest from very different symptoms? And what about people who got partially better and so forth? And what are the things about? So we put together a survey based on feedback that we've gotten, that we want to launch in April and May, to try to see what has been the change among people, and how have they changed over time, and how common was it among the people who joined us, who filled out these surveys, that they improved? How many people got worse? And sort of to provide that sense of that change, we think could be informative. So that's one thing that we want to do. Another thing that we want to do is to focus down on, with more detailed information on a couple of the predominant symptoms that people experience, and by looking at what your responses have been, and where the populations are that we might have enough people to be able to draw reasonable inferences, and combine that with deep immune phenotyping that can occur in the lab. So we thought we would launch in a few months a recruitment into cohorts, groups that we would convene. That one would be a sort of neuropathy, which includes the people with vibrations and tremors, and some people have other diagnoses around these sort of peripheral neuropathies, but sometimes they're not even diagnosed as peripheral neuropathies. But like I said, vibrations, tremors, other symptoms that people are feeling peripherally, and for the dysautonomia symptoms. And by the way, the people may be in both groups if they've got overlapping symptoms. But to try to get those groups together, ask questions that are very specific to those syndromes. So drill down with more specific information. And then for samples of those individuals participating, meaning we can't afford to do everyone, but for groups of people that we'll invite, based on their responses in order to get, focus on people who've got very specific symptoms within this. As we start learning what people are, how they're responding to these surveys, then enroll them in a sub-study of the sub-study to be able to do the deep immune phenotyping to try to figure out whether there is any signal that comes out of looking very deeply at all of the information from their immune function. And so these are two studies on top of the studies that were based on, the descriptive information that you put in at baseline, which really represented a cross-sectional look at a larger group of people who were experiencing these syndromes. And now we're going to be doing one follow-up and one more detailed study into two groups as a start that would help us try to unlock some of the understanding of the mechanisms of these groups. Next slide. And so you may ask, sort of, how can you support the research that we're doing? I mean, what we're going to be doing is encouraging everyone to listen, to fill out the surveys. We've done that, but we know that people don't always feel well, and people have been ambivalent about parts of the study. So what we've allowed people to stay in, listen, who really didn't fill out the surveys and completely, and so their data wasn't contributing to the research. I guess what we're saying to folks is, if you're interested in contributing to the research, we need you to fill out the surveys. We need you to connect to the electronic health records, because, and you saw, we've got two people on this call who are Fred and Andreas, are really helping us to pull that information together. For those who will be invited for biospecimens for the two sub-studies, we encourage you to participate, and we make this easy. People can come to your homes, collect the saliva and blood, and then that goes straight to the labs and so forth. And then supporting the research, being just part of the community, because what we're trying to do is engender a sense that we're all connected, we're all trying to help, and we're trying to make this a strong, supportive community that you guys are provide a means by which you can support each other, even in the cafes, maybe run by members of the community sometime, as we try to figure out ways that can provide some support, make people feel less alone, know that they're not alone in terms of what they're experiencing, and that there are others out there with similar challenges. And even that knowledge alone, many people have said to me, is important, because they're feeling dismissed and even not believed by other people, including those in the healthcare profession, and that knowing that other people are going through the same thing, while that's unfortunate, it at least makes them feel that they're not alone in the world when they're facing similar things. I want to just hand it over to Kiko Osaki. It's such a deep honor for me to be able to work with her. She exemplifies not only best-in-class research, she's a top renowned, internationally renowned immunologist, but someone who cares deeply, who's invested deeply in connecting with people, communicating about the science, and shows enormous empathy. And without working with her, none of this, I think, would have been possible, because it's not just about the surveys, but it's about connecting it with the basic science so we can understand the mechanisms. And really, in the end, for us to be able to help, we have to understand the underlying biology of this, and in order to figure out what we can use for diagnostic tests and ultimately therapeutic interventions. And so that's even in the PAX-LC trial. We're trying a med, but we're also collecting blood and saliva to try to understand who are responders. So even if the trial fails on average, we can maybe understand, were there individuals where it worked in because of that kind of science. So anyway, I want to give Kiko a chance to talk about what she may be excited about with regard to the scientific directions. But again, quite a privilege for me to be able to work with her.
Thank you, Harlan. I feel equally privileged to be working with you, who's really leading this revolution in the way in which we are engaging with patients and communities, and also this decentralized trial for the Paxlovid, which really went well. And thanks to not just Harlan, but many who are in this call, like Bornali and Mitsu and many others who've been working around the clock to get this done. So I'm very excited about being able to connect some of the experiences of people to the biological underpinning of this disease. So we've been, as some of you may know, we've been working on trying to understand the underlying pathology, the drivers of diseases, and we've gotten some very interesting set of data so far, some of which we've reported and some of which we are currently working on. And the way in which we approach science is to completely go into it without any bias. It's very important to keep an open mind about what we might find, because the data should drive our conclusion and not our hypothesis, right? So to that end, we've been incorporating new techniques and new technology and new insights as we move forward with the studies. So for example, with Paxlovid, we are now able to include a brand new analysis of circulating spike protein, which is not even published yet, in the method itself, to be able to sensitively and accurately measure circulating spike protein, which I think will go a long way in trying to understand who has persistent virus and who might benefit from Paxlovid. Because Paxlovid being an antiviral drug, it really should only target people who have persistent replicating virus. Whereas other kinds of drugs and medicines might target different drivers, such as autoimmune disease, autoantibodies, T-cell dysfunction, inflammation, Epstein-Barr virus reactivation, and many other potential drivers that are unrelated to persistent replicating virus. So I think by kind of coupling these biological analyses to well and carefully conducted randomized clinical trials, as Harlan said, even if the primary endpoint may not be met in terms of overall benefit, we should be able to find biological signatures that relate to individual benefit or potential harm from a particular treatment. So we're very excited to move forward with understanding the biological basis of these changes in the symptom with interventions like Paxlovid. But there will be many other clinical trials that will be done where we can couple the biological analysis to the symptom improvement. So that's a very exciting new area of research. And we're always keeping our eyes on different insights from patients, how they've experienced certain types of treatments or certain type of things that people have. I know people are trying all kinds of things, and all that information is going to be used through data science and through biological analyses to be able to understand the underlying pathogenesis and potential drugs that can benefit those particular drivers. So very excited to move forward. And as Harlan mentioned, we're going to be focusing on a couple of phenotypes like the neuropathy and dysautonomia, but there may be other things that we might focus depending on what we hear from you all. So very excited to continue with you.
That's great. Let me just transition over to Regina, why don't you introduce yourself and then can make your presentation, and then we should have about 15 minutes for questions after, general questions after that. But Regina did a great project. She's a public health student and actually came up with this idea and with Mitsu and others. And anyway, Regina, do you want to go ahead and start?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Harlan, so much. Hi, everyone. I'm super honored to be here. I am a master's student at Yale Public Health, and I've been working with the core team. And we've recently done some research on using the national survey data to generalize some insights and to cross-validate against each other. Yeah, and everyone on the team has been super helpful, and we would just be thrilled to share some of the primary results with you. So I guess for the sake of time, I can go ahead and share screen. Yeah, so this is a research letter paper that we published on the American Journal of Medicine named Factors Associated with Long COVID. It has generated insights from 2 nationwide surveys. So just to start with, there are a lot of amazing studies based on site-based study that is linked to electronic health record or biospecimens. But we've also noticed that we could take advantage of 2 independent nationwide surveys that actually ask the question about long COVID symptoms. This is a good supplement to the site-based study, and also because of the independence, they're well set to be validate each other. And we also hope that from this survey data, we can provide some directions for future mechanism studies, just as Akiko mentioned. So to start with, I would like to share a little bit information of these 2 surveys. These 2 surveys are called Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System Survey and also National Health Interview Survey, and both of which are conducted mainly by CDC in all the 50 states across the United States. And this year, in 2022, they introduced a question concerning about long COVID symptom, which gave us a chance to study this public health crisis on a larger scale. And also in both surveys, we're able to categorize health characteristics by many other demographics and socioeconomic factors. To be more specific, the BRFSS, it started in 1984, many years, and it is the largest scale health survey worldwide with approximately 400K adults interviewed yearly. And this interview is conducted via phone calls, but interestingly, they use the random digit dealing strategy to ensure the randomness is maintained. And so that the data we collected can be seen as approximate for the actual national population. The survey questionnaire contains questions about health-related risk behaviors, health conditions, use of preventive services, and so on. The other one we use is the National Health Interview Survey. It started even earlier in 1957, and it is the oldest national household health survey. But because it is conducted in person, so it has a relatively larger scale, but it also used the computer-assisted methods to keep the follow-up. For the questionnaires, it'll mainly provide data on health insurance, access to medical healthcare, health conditions, mental health, tobacco usage, and so on. And interestingly enough, they have one common question this year, which is what we use to identify the long COVID population. The question is, did you have any symptoms lasting 3 months or longer that you did not have before having COVID-19? And for the BRFSS, since it's a phone call-based survey, we have a larger sample size, and around 21.5% of people reported having long COVID symptom. And for the NHIS, we have around 17.1 individuals reporting the long COVID symptoms. So here I will go into a little bit of descriptive analysis of the data set itself. The first bar plot that's showing here is stratified by age groups. And we can see that the middle age groups, around 25 to 64, shows relatively higher prevalence of long COVID symptoms, which are mainly over 20%. While for the most youngest and the oldest, they kind of show lower prevalence rate. And another bar plot is stratified by race and ethnicity. We can see that if we use white ethnicity as a benchmark, for the minorities like Asian ethnicity or Black ethnicity, they show actually lower prevalence rate of long COVID. On the other hand, for other minorities like American Indian and Alaska Natives or other races, which might include Hawaiian or multiracial groups, they actually show higher risk of have a higher prevalence of long COVID. And the third one is stratified by educational attainment. We stratified at the threshold of having college degree or not. And in both studies, we clearly see that those who reported having college education or above reported a lower prevalence for long COVID, whereas for the counterpart, they reported a significantly higher risk. The previous analysis was mainly the descriptive analysis, but then we tried to build some statistical models to actually report the risk factors and to try to see the risk for each subpopulation. So the plot here, the dotted black line actually showed the reference for each level of each factor. And on the right side, as shown by the right arrows, it means the specific level has the higher risk. And on the left side with the green arrows, it means lower risk compared to the reference. And the first plot is about the age range. As we saw in the prevalence rate, we also conclude that the middle-aged population have higher risk to be affected by long COVID, mainly from age 25 to age 64. Whereas for the youngest and the oldest, the risk is relatively lower. And it is the same way to rate this plot too, but this one is about the sex assigned at birth and also the race and ethnicity. For the sex in both data sets, we observed that female sex is a risk factor for experiencing long COVID. And for race and ethnicity, we used white ethnicity as a benchmark, and we discovered that for Asian and Black people, they have lower risk of developing long COVID, whereas for AIA and other races, it's kind of the opposite trend. And the last one are about some other socioeconomic factors and also COVID severity questions. So the first one for the urbanization level, we do have the information of whether the individual is living in metropolitan or non-metropolitan area. And both data sets reported that living in a metropolitan area is a protective factor, meaning those living in metropolitan area have lower risk for developing long COVID. And for the education part, similar to the descriptive analysis we've reported before, those with a college degree and above actually reported lower risk for developing risk factors. All these aforementioned results are cross-validated between the two data sets, but for the COVID severity question, the data is only available in the NHIS data, but still we found very strong association between the severity of infection and also developing long COVID, which definitely underscores the importance of prevention and early intervention. So to sum up a little bit, some clinical significance of the study. So first of all, we utilized two very independent national surveys to identify some very common trends based on the demographics and COVID infection severity. Some risk factors we detected include middle age, female sex, lower education attainment, non-metropolitan dwellings. And for the racial differences, we also detected that self-identifying as Asian and Black ethnicities are associated with lower risk of developing long COVID. The study piece now is available on the American Journal of Medicine online article, and we really look forward to dive deeper into the study and to really enhance our understanding of the prevailing long COVID symptoms. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Regina. That was beautiful, beautiful job. And importantly, first of all, we're very interested in what you all think about those results, especially when social factors, education, race, ethnicity, this can be how people report it or whether they ever get the label. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's a lower or higher incidence, but it's maybe how people are understanding what they're experiencing and what they're reporting. The age was interesting, and again, I liked her point about that the greater the severity of the acute infection, the more likely people were to report long COVID afterwards. Anyway, what we tried to do is take advantage of a database that had incorporated those questions. There's some limitations, of course, in the way they did it. We said to the journal, by the way, that the gold standard of whether you have it is whether people say that they have it, because we don't have other tests and people are reporting, what they're experiencing. So, when we start looking at what the overall rates are, that was also, I thought, very impressive, these nationally representative surveys done in entirely different populations, coming up with very consistent results, showing large numbers of people affected. And, we hope that will get people's attention, some of this to draw light on, but a beautiful job. Thank you, Regina. So at this point, we have about 15 minutes. We don't have to go 15 minutes, depending on, we can go, we want to be able to respond if people have questions, or either about what we're doing, how this is transitioning, what Listen Study is, or really, you've got Akiko on the line here, so lots of, and sometimes you guys have more general questions about the science, and she's world's expert on this. So anyway, it's open for questions. I don't know, Leslie, if you guys have noticed any that have come along. Go ahead.
No, we've been answering as we've gone along.
So someone has raised their hand, Trina Patterson. How do we funnel the question?
Oh, can she just type it?
I've asked her to unmute.
Oh, you can, oh,
just-
good. Okay.
I just thank you guys for getting this all together, but just a couple of questions. Just, it seems like, and this is just me speaking, like when I signed up for this, it was vaccine injured and long COVID. And it seems like as we've gone on, I don't hear anything else about the vaccine injured. It's like everything has shifted to long COVID. And in the study, I didn't see anything about really vaccine injured either. And my second question is there a list where we can find out each other's information and then maybe talk amongst ourselves for the ones that are definitely vaccine injured?
I think let me respond sort of quickly to the first one, and then maybe quickly address the second one. I'll ask anyone else. So I don't think there's been any shift. I think we're actually may seem that way. First of all, the study that Regina just reported was based on what was available in the federal databases. So, there was no question about vaccine injury in the federal database. And so, she sort of led this effort with the team to take advantage of the data that did exist. And that was why that study didn't have it. It wasn't our choice. It was what was available. With regard to what we're doing in Listen, there's a study that's descriptive of of people reporting long COVID. There's another study of people has been pre-printed and is in the process of being reviewed for a peer-reviewed journal right now that's on people with vaccine injury. And then there's a study in which we've actually tried to look at the similarities and differences between the people who are part of Listen with long COVID and with vaccine injury or post-vaccination syndrome, that to try to compare and contrast what they're experiencing, because there's some similarities and some differences. And then there are some studies we've been talking about with, like, let's look at vibrations in people with long COVID. Let's look at what about people with vaccine injury. And so those are sort of talking about like how we can look at that. And then with regard to the work that's being done with the deep immune phenotyping, actually the first Listen study in deep immune phenotyping is being done in patients reporting vaccine injury, post-vaccination syndrome, in advance of doing one of long COVID. So actually that one's going first. Bornali's been working on that. We're just beginning to, we had to send blood out to very many different places. There's like 2,000 different parameters that were measured, and the Kiko and her team are sort of taking first shot at sort of organizing that. We will definitely be presenting that back when it's ready to be pre-printed, and it's got some results that are worth, that are in the form that can be shared back. In the sub-studies that we're conducting that we talked about, we're doing both. And in the long-term follow-up, we're doing both. So I would say that it may feel that way. Certainly, sometimes there's presentations that are in advance of others, but the group is going on both. Kindred is a community that did connect people. The Listen study is not going to be a place where we're connecting people, although we might have cafes that are specific to each of the groups, and people can come together in those. We've got to be careful. We're under constraints in the study for HIPAA. So that means we have to protect the identities of each of the individuals. This is a Kindred meeting, so you all are actually seeing your names. We're being told by the IRB when we have these, we have to get consent for people to come on, and we have to be very careful. We ran a Listen meeting where actually people were on camera. Many people were on camera, and we had to actually manage that because we weren't, I guess, supposed to do that because people may be in the study that they don't want to be known. So we're trying to figure this out. How can we run a study that's very participant oriented, support the community, and comply with our regulatory oversight and respect people's individual wishes about wanting to be known or wanting, of course, we keep all your information confidential, including medical records. Everything's confidential within the study. We have lots of ways to do that. But people's identity, they may not even want people to know they're in the study. So, there are ways for us to navigate that. And by the way, we're bringing Talia and Heidi over into the study. We're trying to actively problem solve this because they come from Kindred. They know, about these things. What I'd recommend is send them notes, engage them. If you've got ideas, you can funnel them in and we can see what's possible. But, we want to serve the community. We just have to play by certain regulatory rules in the course of being a study. So we'll do our best, but that's why Heidi and Talia are here to help funnel ideas and see what's possible and work with our IRB. Sorry, I'll try to answer shorter time. Others have raised their hands. I don't know how we want to do this.
Yeah, I was just going back here.
There are people who raise their hands. Either you should tell
Yeah,
them.
Pooja had a question.
There are 4 people
Yeah,
now.
she was next though.
Okay.
You can unmute her. Go ahead.
Hi, could you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you for hosting this. I've been a very active participant of Listen ever since it was founded. And my health records have been uploaded as well. But I was wondering, I've never heard from anyone asking for biospecimens. They're all updated. What exactly goes on? And if the 2 studies that you are talking about launching in April, May, do they include cognitive symptoms like brain fog that I'm struggling with and constant fatigue? Also, ringing in the ear, stuff like that. Would that be inclusive? So 2 questions. One is that I'm not heard anyone asking me for biospecimens, even though it's all updated. And second one was about whether cognitive issues would be included in your future studies. Thank
Then
you.
let me hand it over to Bornali to talk about the biospecimens and the selection. I think we're starting off with these 2, and certainly you're talking about, the tinnitus is a one that we've talked about as being another potential important one, and brain fog another one. But we thought, like, let's start with 2 and get some momentum and work out, how best to do this. And if it's successful and we can continue to get some support, then we can continue to expand. Bornali, I don't know if you want to make any comments about the biospecimens.
Hi, Pooja. Yeah, so we analyzed the data from the self-reported surveys, and on the basis of that, we selected a subset who did not have any prior medical history of any of the known symptoms, actually. So that's what we did, and we selected a subset who didn't have anything before 2020 and then started reporting all the symptoms after 2020 and after vaccination. So that was the criterion for selection of a subset. So that's why probably you did not hear back from us.
No, I didn't have any symptoms before I got COVID. I was a healthy individual with absolutely no neurological issues, no fatigue issues. So I'm just surprised that I wasn't called.
Well, let me just say, we may come back. Look, part of it is resources. We were able to do a certain number, and there were more people who qualified. We just sort of almost randomly picked people among those who were eligible. I'm sorry that you weren't one of them, but yeah, people were just like you. So that's what we were looking for. But we weren't able to take everyone who met criteria just because of resources. So we had to say, okay, look, we'll do 50, or I can't remember where now, was it 50 or something, but
50, yes.
yeah. So, there were more people who met those criteria than we were able to do.
I think it's easier if people type their questions in the chat and we'll get to them. But in the meantime, because I don't know if we'll get to everybody here that's got their hand up. So if you can type your question, that might be more efficient because some of us can answer them without a conversation. But I can, Peg, why don't you, I'm going to unmute you. There you go.
First of all, thank you very much for all the great work you have all been doing over these last number of years. You really have been a haven for so many of us. So just thank you, thank you. Question, are there other research institutes doing work on vax injuries? You folks seem to be unique in that space. And there seems to be a hesitancy for other folks sort of getting into this area. I know there was just a recent study that came out. I think, I don't know, it was FDA who had done it. It was a follow-up to the reports on the adverse effects and strokes in older individuals, of which I am one, after the bivalent and flu vaccine from last fall. And so that's one thing that I've seen. But are you aware of other people that are doing work on vax injuries?
And if Akiko, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'm not sure if, I mean, we've done studies, for example, in a subset of people getting myocarditis after mRNA vaccine. That happened in a very specific demographic groups. And there are other people who've done that. But in terms of the post-vaccine syndrome, where, we're interested collectively here, I'm not aware of any other research centers doing that, but there may be going on without my knowledge. Maybe others on this platform might know about it, and if so, please share on the chat. But I'm not really aware of other places doing this.
And then I have Brittany Stager, who had her hand up. She posted a similar kind of question. Any research or findings related to endothelial damage or dysfunction?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we're incorporating new technologies all the time. And one of which we are incorporating is mass spectrometry analysis to, in an unbiased manner, look at proteins that are elevated or reduced in circulation. So that's allowing us to see signatures like platelet activation and neutrophil activation and complement depletion. The other things we have incorporated is, platelet activation analysis by flow cytometry. This is a brand new thing we just developed. The other thing we're doing is microclot analysis, as you've seen in other studies. So, we're continuously incorporating new things, and those should be able to give us more insights on the vasculature activation as well as dysfunction.
And then I have Gwendolyn George. Do you know of a test that I can get that will ascertain my viral load?
Ascertain viral load?
Yes, that's just said.
Oh, yeah. So, as you know, there are lots of nasal, pharyngeal, as well as saliva-based methods for detecting viral load. Many of which is all of that is mostly negative in people with long COVID. But we are looking at circulating spike protein, which seem to be present in some people with long COVID and post-vaccine syndrome. So that's something that we're, just starting to do and starting to see some evidence.
And I see there are other people have posted some other studies that they're aware of in the chat. So make sure you check those.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just looking if there's probably time for one more question. Looking to see if there's, let's see. Sorry, Nicole's question, where is that? Are you partnering with? Oh, go ahead, Harlan.
Well, I was just saying, I think a final one, because I saw it a couple times, was people were asking about exercise and so forth. I think in the Listen study, we've been reluctant to make particular recommendations, as people probably know that for some people, actually exercise can make their symptoms much worse, and then unfortunately, and I know Dave Petrino has written a lot about this on Twitter and talked about it broadly. Of course, he has a lot of experience at Sinai with patients, and is saying that some practitioners are telling people, well, persist and keep going, but he's saying it's like, a car with two flat tires, trying to get it to go instead of trying to figure out how to fix it. And I often think that in situations like you're in, it's it's about N of 1 trials, like you've got to listen to your body, and sometimes you may try something. If exertion makes you worse, then that's telling you something important, and fighting through that may not be the best thing for you. And you'll know that. And, there aren't, there's just not a lot of evidence out there that doctors can rely on right now when they're making recommendations. And so this has to be a situation where there's deep partnership between people affected and their medical teams, where, they may be willing to try different strategies, but they've got to be alert to how it makes them feel, what's happening. Nobody can tell you push through this and it will be better, because we don't have the evidence right now about that. That's why, we try to do things like the PAX LC trial, produce the evidence so that you can have some confidence. And also in the pairing with Akiko's lab, trying to understand the precision part about this, which is who are the responders and what can we tell people. But really, right now, you guys are the experts in this condition. You are the experts. And medical professionals, if they're smart, are learning from you, because there are no textbooks on this. There are no yet diagnostics or therapeutics. We're trying to work with you to make it so that the future will be better, that there will be ways for us to have the kind of evidence that people can feel confident in. But right now, that, I believe this has to be a partnership where, you can't stand still and do nothing, because, you're suffering. So you want to try to do things. So, but that means what you try to do, you might want to monitor carefully, which almost everyone I've talked to does, and see if it provides any benefit. But yeah, it's awful. I mean, the listen results that were most devastating to me were people who have lost hope, people who are facing financial consequences that are horrific, who are socially isolated, who are being dismissed, and are feeling no way forward. And what we're trying to do is to say that there are people who get better. We hear about it. We're going to try to quantify that. So that's something. And we're going to try to help. We're trying to see whether we can produce evidence and information that might be helpful. But it's hard to make a clear recommendation. Yes, do this, don't do that. I don't believe anyone can quite do that with confidence right now. That's just my view on it. There are more questions. Leslie, maybe there's ways for us to
Yeah.
give people answers and post it on Kindred.
Yeah, we
while
can try to
Kindred still goes.
do one more over the next week or so. We can get the questions over to you guys, because I think they're all questions for your team, not us, to be honest.
Yeah, we can try to manage that, and
Yeah.
Talia and Heidi can help us on our side to organize the responses, and you guys can post them on Kindred.
Yeah. We can send them out somehow. So,
And some of it is informational, I see in the chat, and you guys can find ways to just post. I saw someone saying like exactly React 19's got a survey, and other things are going on.
yeah, there's a lot of, maybe Talia, you can pull that together so it's more resource for people.
And we can post it on that. We can find ways where we're gonna post information that people can also get on our site.
Yep, we will do that.
And someone just quickly asked, listen study funded. So there was at least some of the funding on our side there was a Yale alumnus who was interested in the work that we were doing and provided a gift that enabled us to be able to push some of this, continue this work on our side, to hire Talia and Heidi and to build out this side so that we could help support this research. There's also some other funding. I don't know, Kiko, some of the funding in the lab has enabled us to do the lab work.
Yeah, definitely. We're coupling together some funds to be able to do the biological analyses. But Harlan and I are always keeping an eye on new opportunities for funding. So if you do know of anything, please let us know.
So I would say we're in a constant trying to figure out how to make this work. That's why even like Pooja, you say like, we can't afford to do more cohorts than this, or we couldn't afford to do more than 50 people. We're just trying to keep it going. And if we find promising results, then to hope to attract more funding so we continue to expand. We're not part of the Recover effort, which was $1 billion effort by NIH. They're a different, separate from us. We don't get funding from them. So, you know, there's different things going on. Of course, that's long COVID exclusively, but different things going on, but we're doing our best to do it. And that's kind of you about donation. We can give you the information, but we definitely don't want, we don't fundraise from you guys. We want to help you guys. We know a lot of you are under stress and duress, and we don't want to impose that on you all, but we can, Talia and Heidi can give information for you guys, anything about it. We want to be completely transparent about where our funding does come from, and we're glad to, actually, I think we should disclose that on the site, just put a place where everyone can see where the funding comes from.
All right.
And all our articles also disclose that. All our articles have that too.
All right. Well, we're over time, and as always, we could go on and on and on, but that's not possible. So we're going to have to end, but we do have the chat saved, and we'll go through it and see what else we can help answer and get that out to you. As far as Kindred goes, you'll be receiving emails from us, you know, as we get closer to the closing date. We're looking at sometime mid to late April, so we've still got some time. And oh, and one other thing, the content that's on Kindred, I did get some questions about that. It will be available for you at a site connected to Hugo, so you will be able to still see the content and have access to the content that was there. It's not going away, and it's certainly important resources for lots of people, so we didn't want that to happen. And our YouTube channel is still live, so all the videos from the past cafes and so on are still there. So with that, just want to say thank you again for all of your engagement and wonderful support, and you know, being there for each other, most importantly. So we will, as we said, this is just the beginning of a new era, and look forward to the Listen team to kind of take it from here. And it looks like there's lots of great stuff that you can still be part of. So
Thank you.
okay,
Thank you, everyone.
bye.
Bye.